Good evening. Welcome back to Transformation Tuesday. It's your host, Chris Action Jackson here, and I'm excited to present to you another episode where I'm going to show you tonight how do we install some deep unconscious beliefs inside ourselves, some convenient assumptions of reality that are going to help us live the life that we want. Tonight's episode is all about what are the beliefs that we've got to have, what are the thought patterns that we need, what are the philosophies of living that we need to install and integrate at the deepest level we possibly can in order to live a masterful life. So I'm going to share with you what I believe are the most important belief systems, the most important, I call them convenient assumptions of reality. What are those assumptions that we need to have in order to get what we want? And life rewards very specific belief systems. Life rewards different perspectives and philosophies in different ways. And I want to share with you some of the most impactful beliefs that when you take these on, when you believe these and when you integrate these, you will see a profound difference in the way your reality unfolds. So I'm going to dive straight in. And first of all, welcome to you guys. Welcome to those watching the replay. I hope you guys have had a great Easter. If you celebrate Easter, I hope you had a beautiful, I hope you had a great time, whatever you did. I had a nice weekend away. I spent a weekend away in the hills. I got into nature and just reflected, contemplated life, connected. I always love getting back to nature, so I trust you guys had a great weekend as well. Hey Shemaine, hope you're doing well. So tonight we're talking about convenient assumptions. Now, these are assumptions, these are philosophies, these are belief systems that when we take these on and integrate these beliefs, magic happens. Now, the way that this works is that beliefs create our reality. Beliefs are those convenient assumptions of essentially what we believe to be true. Beliefs are one of the foundational filters. They are one of the most important filters that we have as a human being. And our beliefs, whether or not we're aware of them, and just like gravity, whether or not you're aware of gravity or whether you believe in gravity, gravity is affecting you. Well, the same thing applies for beliefs. Whether or not you're aware of your beliefs, or whether or not you agree with me, your beliefs are defining and they are impacting your results in your life. And I'll explain a bit more about how that's the case. But fundamentally, we need to appreciate that our beliefs are one of the most important filters. And if we don't have acute awareness of all of our beliefs, and if they are giving us the results that we want, then we're at a massive disadvantage. We're at a huge disadvantage. First of all, if we don't have awareness of what our beliefs are, well, we're going to suffer. And if we are aware of our beliefs, but we're not actually taking responsibility for changing those beliefs, well, we're also going to experience hardship. We're going to experience life in a difficult way. And it doesn't need to be that difficult. It can be a lot easier than we make it. It can be so much easier than some of us make it out to be. Hey, Barbara, good to have you here. Hey, Shirl. So we need to understand that beliefs are the placebo effect in action. Beliefs are impacting our reality. They guide our decisions. They govern our action. They affect our emotions. They affect our whole outlook on life. Our beliefs are a possibility filter. They are a possibility filter. What we believe to be true will dictate and will determine the opportunities that we notice, the conversations we are willing to have, the actions that we take, and they fundamentally govern what we pay attention to, what we will strive for, what we will, when you're scrolling through Facebook, your beliefs will determine which Facebook ads you even pay attention to, or some of them you might even just delete in your mind as if they never existed. So your belief systems are filtering your experience. Not only are they filtering your experience, but they are filtering your possibilities for what you can experience in this life. And I'll give you some examples. Before I started my own business, I didn't believe that I was smart enough to start my own business. I didn't believe it was possible for a guy like me who hadn't studied economics or done an MBA or any of those things. I just didn't believe it was possible to be successful in business. So there you go. If you don't believe that it's possible for you to do something, well, how likely is it, do you think, you're even going to attempt that? How likely is it you're going to pursue that with all of the competency or all of the potential that you can? So straight off the bat, our beliefs are either expanding us or they're limiting us. And so this is the conversation we're having tonight, is what are the beliefs, what are the assumptions, and what are the philosophies that when you take these on, you will notice a massive shift in the trajectory of your life. And I'm going to start sharing these with you. So I've got 5 of them tonight that I believe are probably the most powerful beliefs that I've taken on. I mean, we have thousands of beliefs, and I have thousands of beliefs. I critique my beliefs. I go through my beliefs like a fine-tooth comb. I'm constantly eliciting my beliefs. What do I believe about reality? And ultimately, the beliefs that we have, they are simply predominantly as a result of all the experiences that we've had in our life from the moment we were born leading up until now. So all the experiences that we've had have been cultivating, have been curating, have been impacting us and our perspective on reality. And I think one of the best examples is if you grow up in a war-torn country or in poverty, then you're going to have a particular belief system. You're going to have a particular perspective on the world. Now, is that accurate? Okay, hey Mike, good to see you here, mate. You could say that perspective is not necessarily accurate. It just is a perspective that's been conditioned as a result of having a whole lot of experiences in your life. Now, if you grow up in a peaceful country like Australia in abundance, and you've had everything that money could ever buy, then you're going to have a different perspective. You're going to have a different belief system. Now, it's these belief systems that have been conditioned into us, typically unconsciously, that we have to become conscious of. Otherwise, as my good friend Carl Jung talks about, he says, until we make the unconscious conscious, then it will direct our life, right? It will be affecting our life, and we'll just be calling it fate. So we need to be aware of the unconscious conditionings and beliefs, unconscious conditioning and belief systems that are taking place inside of us, that in some cases we have no awareness of. And that's the scariest belief. That's the scariest part of your internal conditioning, is the belief or the philosophy or the thoughts that you're having that you're not aware of. Because if you have a unconscious limiting belief floating in your mind, it's like letting a 3-year-old child run through your house with a big sharp butcher's knife. It's going to cause a whole lot of damage. So this whole process is about, first of all, eliciting what are our beliefs, what are our philosophies, but then also getting to work on changing them, getting to work on creating tangible shifts. And every single belief can be changed. Every single belief can be changed. That's what I spend most of my time doing when I work with my one-on-one clients, is we're changing beliefs, we're shifting perspectives, we're shifting paradigms, and we're altering reality from the deepest, most unconscious level, from the inside out. So number 1, this is probably one of the most powerful beliefs that anyone can ever take on, which is life has no meaning except the meaning that we choose to give it. Life has no meaning except the meaning we choose to give it. Now, this applies to life. This also applies to circumstances. So what does this mean? Well, you could look at any scenario in your life and you could look at it through a number of different lenses. Say, for example, if you're in a relationship and your relationship ends, you could either view that, and it wasn't your choice. You could view that scenario through the lens of victimhood. This is the most horrible thing ever. Poor me. Life sucks. Life's difficult. How am I going to find another person that's just as lovely as that person? You could view it through a particular perspective, right? Which is the frame, we call it frame, the frame of victimhood. Something's not right, through the lens of judgment. You can view it from a particular perspective. Or you could view it from another perspective, which is something like, okay, great, not a match, excellent. This is leading me in a greater, more aligned path, because I'm now going to find someone who actually wants to be with me in a relationship. So you could actually celebrate that. You could go, okay, great, excellent. Okay, life is now readjusting. We can now have an opportunity to attract the person who we're meant to spend the rest of our life with. So you could either argue with reality, or you could bend your reality to suit your highest expression, to suit your highest interest. So we need to be aware of the frames through which we're viewing our experience. Are we viewing our experience through a frame of victimhood, or are we viewing our experience through a frame of being empowered, learning, expanding, and aligning our life to a far more aligned degree? So that frame through which you're viewing your experience, that's the meaning that you're giving the experience. That's the meaning that you're giving. And I'll give you another example. When I left my job many years ago, I knew that engineering wasn't the career for me. It just simply wasn't my career. I wasn't passionate about it. I knew I wasn't born to do engineering. Right? I'm born to be a transformational life and business and performance coach. This is my bag. This is my jam. And prior to getting to that point of realization, I knew that engineering wasn't for me. Now, I could have looked, and I knew I was about to exit engineering. I knew that it wasn't for me. I knew I was about to transition, and I knew I was about to start my business. And I could look at the thousands of dollars I invested, the nearly a decade of my life that I pursued in that career, as well as another 4 years of studying a degree. I could have looked at that decision and gone, poor, gee, I've invested all this time and energy in a degree and building a career. Right? How could you just walk away from something like that? What a waste. What a waste of a good career, Chris. You know, what a waste. This is what a lot of people were saying to me at the time. What a waste. It seems like such a waste. You've spent all that time pursuing something to just walk away from it. Well, the lens that I viewed that situation through was not one of wasting my life or wasting my time. It was one of, I've been through these series of experiences in order to elevate my perspective, in order to give me awareness of what I'm truly here to do, and to give me a contrast about what I really, really don't want to be spending my life doing. So I looked at that experience through the lens of gratitude, through the lens of an awakening, through the lens of learning, through experience, through managing a team, through managing my time, through really, ultimately, I think what it came back to is I just looked at that experience with gratitude, knowing that it was a stepping stone for something greater. So the frame that I chose to view that experience through was, what's the meaning that I'm going to give this experience? What's the meaning? The meaning is, great, life has given me this particular experience. It's going to have an advantage for me. I have a competitive advantage from most other people in this life because I've been through my unique set of circumstances that's going to give me the edge when it comes to whatever I'm going to face next in life. So again, this was me choosing the meaning of that experience. This was me choosing what it meant. Now, did it really mean that? No, it doesn't mean anything. It just means what we choose it to mean. So when we get really creative with how we look at every single experience in our life, and we become aware of what is the frame through which I'm viewing this experience. Am I viewing this through the frame of judgment? Am I viewing this through the frame of gratitude? Am I viewing this through the frame of learning? This is the whole conversation tonight. This is reframing. This is transforming your experience of reality by consciously choosing the vantage point, by choosing the frame through which you want to view your experience. Because when you change your perspective, when you change the frame that you're viewing your reality through, the reality itself transforms. That's just the nature of this life that we live in. That's just the true nature of reality. Depending on how you look at reality, it will change. And this is quantum physics. We've proven this from quantum physics. We know that the observer creates the observed. We know that when you're looking at quantum particles, the nature of just simply observing a particle changes the reality that by you observing reality at the quantum level, you actually change the interaction of that particle at the quantum level. So we've got to get really, really curious about how we are viewing our reality and notice that we are creating our reality by how we choose to view it. So that's my question as a bit of an awareness exercise is, what is the frame or what is the perspective that you're choosing to view your reality through? Is it victimhood? Is it you're the victim? Is it you're the hero? Is it what can I learn from this? Or how am I the victim? How is this hurting me? How is this benefiting me? What can I be grateful for? Right? So these are the questions, which are also frames or perspectives that that either elevate or diminish our experience of life. Number 2 is there is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. And you've probably heard this before. There's no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. Well, what does this mean? This means detaching our uncomfortable, call them negative emotions from the concept of failure. What this is doing is this is taking the concept of failure and completely stripping it and devaluing it from having any meaning at all. So you can look at failure and you can swap out the word failure with learning. Swap out the word failure and go, I grew, I experienced. Swap out the word failure and go, awareness of a greater degree of alignment. So swap out the word failure and go, I gave my greatest attempt at something and pursued and put all of my heart and effort into it, and I did myself proud. So there's a lot of other ways. Again, this whole conversation tonight is about reframing, but we're doing this element number 2, which is there's no such thing as failure. This is really recognizing that the only way that you can really ever fail in life is to never actually get in the game in the first place, right? So you are far better off at least getting in the game and making an attempt that is, people call it unsuccessful, right? You're better off making an attempt at something and at least having a go and saying that you actually got in there and learned something and pursued it and took action and had courage than just waiting it out and living on the sidelines. Because there's a lot of people, and myself included, I subscribed to this idea for many, many years before I figured it out, which was I thought, oh, I don't want to fail because I'll look bad. Oh, I don't want to fail because it's just not going to feel comfortable. Oh, I don't want to fail because people are going to judge me or people are going to laugh at me. And all it was is I was just outsourcing my sovereignty to the opinions and the perspectives of other people. I was far too concerned about what people were going to think about me. And so I was letting my sovereignty and my free will be determined by external forces, right? Which is not a very empowering way to live. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly don't want to outsource my sovereignty to the opinions and the perspectives of other people. It's just not a very expansive and not an empowering way to live. So this concept of failure is really, really imperative to that, because failure is one of the most powerful handbrakes that stops people from actually taking action. So I recommend you see failure as only something that exists when you actually don't take action, when you do nothing, when you actually are not the highest expression of yourself, right? That in itself, that would be failure. But at least having a go, at least getting in the game, at least pursuing something, and even if you fall flat on your face, even if you don't fully execute it to the capacity that you want, if you fail miserably, right? If you fall flat on your face, then see that failure as a learning, right? So again, we're starting to swap out the words failure for learning, failure for feedback. We're starting to swap out this word failure for just an experience where you took action, you moved in the direction of your desire, and you learned something. And as a result of that learning, you are now more empowered, you are now more equipped, and you now have more resources at your disposal to now go again. And then go again, and go again, and go again, again. And you keep going. Now, you're going to get further, you're going to get there quicker, you're going to get there faster, and you're going to get there in a better way than someone who never ever tries in the first place. So this is the thing about failure, is we've got to recognize that it's just an illusion. The whole concept of us subscribing to failure meaning anything, well, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot by even subscribing to that concept of failure meaning anything at all. So I recommend you swap out the word failure with, well, feedback. You're just constantly getting feedback from life. So I think this is a fantastic assumption to have, that there is no such thing as failure. There is just, we're constantly getting feedback. And are we taking the action? Are we in alignment? Are we taking aligned, inspired action in the direction we want? If not, what's the learning? What's the feedback? And then we go again. So that's number 2. And I would say that I've made so many mistakes in life. I've failed by the classic definition of the term, a lot more than most other people. But the thing about the failings or the opportunities that we haven't quite executed fully on is they don't matter. At the end of the day, the failings, they fall by the wayside, right? Now, the classic example here is the 1,000 times, I think it was Thomas Edison when he invented the light globe. I think it was Edison. And there was I think it was 1,000 attempts to get there. So you could say he failed 1,000 times before he got there. Well, who cares? He got there. He got there eventually. He figured it out. And so the 1,000 times, the 1,000 failures, they don't mean anything. They mean nothing. They're insignificant. And they only mean something if our perspective or our frame in the moment is just looking at the meaning of the concept of failure. It means nothing if we're looking at a bigger picture perspective of our life. So an interesting and I think important perspective to take on. Number 3 is the next convenient assumption of reality I think is really important to take on, is that we are 100% responsible for our experience of life. We are 100% responsible for our experience of life. What does this mean? Well, this means that we are in charge of our consciousness. We are in charge of our mind. We have been since the moment we were born. And yes, there have been plenty of things that have happened that are outside of our control in terms of, yes, the stars are orbiting the sky and there's plenty of other things that are happening that are outside of our sphere of influence. However, this belief here is, again, this is a convenient assumption. So by subscribing to this belief that we are creating and we are responsible for everything we've created in our life, what this does is forget whether this can be proven or not, right? If we're looking about scientifically proving that this belief is true, you physically can't do it. The point is, forget about trying to scientifically prove this belief is true. Try it on. It's like a game. When you play this game, you get particular results with your life. So if you try on the game of you are 100% responsible for everything you create inside your experience and in your life, then what does it create? It creates empowerment. It creates a sense of this is my life, and if it is to be, it's up to me. Great. And so what we do is we're no longer blaming people. We're no longer outsourcing our results to other people. We're no longer claiming that it's someone else's fault. Right? We're not making excuses for ourselves. We can just simply own, the results I've created, my experience I've created it. And we can own it and say it from a place of empowerment. Because if we've created, we can uncreate it. Whatever we've manifested in our life, if we've done that, then we are now empowered to do the opposite or do something different. So this is a convenient assumption, which is a belief system, which when you truly deeply subscribe to this, the results that you're able to create in your life are magnificent, because the buck stops with us. And the whole concept of blame goes out the window. It's got nothing to do with blame. It's got nothing to do with judgment. It's just taking responsibility for, well, if we wanted to create a different result in our life, well, we had an infinite number of opportunities from the moment we were born to the moment now to create that. And for whatever reason, we haven't done that. So we can actually celebrate that and go, okay, great, I haven't achieved what I wanted, or I have achieved what I wanted, and we can claim credit for that. We can take responsibility for that. And I think it's a very, very beautiful way to live. It's a beautiful way to live, because what it does is it takes out the blame. It takes out any sense that our experience is not our own. We are owning our experience. And to extend this, we also want to include the internal experiences that we're having as well. So all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the meaning that we are ascribing to all the events of our life. These are all the things we've got to become acutely aware of, that we are also taking responsibility for. Is we are responsible for our thoughts. We are responsible for what we make our thoughts mean. We are responsible for taking action on our thoughts. We are responsible for 100% of our experience of life. And for some people, that's a stretch. However, when you choose to subscribe to this belief, it's kind of like a game. Once you play this game and once you subscribe to it and once you believe this for long enough, it just becomes your default reality. And therefore, the whole concept of blame no longer exists. Now, this sits outside the concept of complacency. We're not talking about if you see something happening in the world that you don't agree with, that you don't take action. We're not talking about that. We're simply saying everything in your world, inside your experience, you claim it as your own. You claim it as, okay, you've experienced it, it's your reality. And that's a really, really empowered place to be. Hey, John, good to see you here, buddy. Each of these convenient assumptions of reality, each of these in and itself is a whole complex sub-series of belief systems. So to fully understand and to fully integrate each one of these belief systems, you've really got to reflect on each one of these, and you've got to feel into it. And some of these beliefs, they may have some resistance to them. You may have resistance to some of these beliefs because they're new thoughts. And any new thought, just like a habit, is a challenge to take on. It's a challenge to accept. And so this, just like when you're developing any new habit, through repetition, through exploration, through feeling it, through exploring it, journaling it, discussing it, contemplating it, you give yourself the ability to integrate that belief and start to contemplate it through a different lens, so it now becomes available to you. So all of these beliefs that I'm covering tonight, I didn't always have awareness of these, and I didn't always subscribe to these. And even the ones, and even now, there are increasing depths of awareness and degrees of ability that I have to tap into these. So these belief systems they're infinitely deepening. You can integrate these at the deepest level you can possibly imagine. And if you work on them day by day, you can increase the ability that you believe in these as well. So beliefs are very, very malleable. They are flexible. Our beliefs, they're all made up, but ultimately we have the power to change them. And that's the great thing that I love about personal development. That's the great thing I love about transformation, is beliefs are just like lines of code. They're like lines of code in a software program. And once we understand the tools of the mind, we can recondition, reprogram, and completely transform all of our beliefs. The fourth convenient assumption of reality is that love is always the answer. Love is always the answer. What do I mean by that? Well, the greatest question you can ever ask yourself when you're contemplating any decision is, what would love do now? If I was truly loving of myself and reality, if I was truly demonstrating the highest degree of love, what would I do now? That's the ultimate frame. Because love is the base frequency of this reality. Love is the fabric of this reality. And what I mean by fabric of this reality is when you tune into the vibration or the frequency or the philosophy of love, we collapse any problem that could ever exist. It's like we annihilate the problem, because all of a sudden we are now projecting this energy of love into this reality, which means there can be no problems that exist when we're in a state of love, when you're projecting love. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples, because I know some people are thinking, oh, love is a bit fluffy duck. And this is a big myth that a lot of people, unfortunately, think of love sometimes as weakness. Love is the highest form of strength, because love contains within it all the most empowering, I think the most incredible elements of our experience, including vulnerability, courage, compassion, acceptance, kindness, generosity. So love is this infusion, this ultimate superpower that nothing can defeat love. In terms of all the competitors of life, nothing trumps love, nothing beats love, absolutely nothing. So when you view your reality through the lens of what would love do now, if I was the most loving, loving to the highest capacity that I possibly could right now, what would I do? You're always going to come up with an answer that's going to overpower any fear-based problem, any limitation in your life. Because what happens with love is we're coming from one of the highest vibrations we can possibly come from, which collapses any suffering. It collapses any negativity. It's the ultimate perspective, which transforms our reality. So if you're looking at your reality through the lens of love, well, what that is it's compassion, it's acceptance, it's understanding. It's taking us from a frame of victimhood to one of compassion. It's taking us from a frame of limited possibility to unlimited possibility. It's taking us from being afraid of failure to being willing to fail and willing to learn from it. So love is one of these power virtues which contains within it pretty much all the other virtues contain, all the other virtues that exist. Love is this ultimate virtue. So a really powerful way of approaching life is whenever you need to make a decision, if you're not sure about what to do, then you ask yourself this: what would love do now? If I was the highest expression of love, what would I choose? If I was the highest, most powerful demonstration of love, which of these options would I demonstrate right now? What action would I take? And that in itself, that taking on that frame, it elevates your perspective. It takes you to a higher level of consciousness. And so it's such a powerful question, and it's so simple, so simple. You know, if you were to spend at least the next week of your life just asking that question, what would love do now? What would love do now? If I was the highest expression of love, what would I do? Be aware of what pops into your consciousness. Be aware of the thinking and the expression that now pours through you, because you've just elevated. You've elevated to one of the highest degrees of vibration, frequency, of energy, of philosophy. Now, the thing about love is, love doesn't imply complacency. Love doesn't imply weakness. Love is strength. Love is authenticity. Love is full self-expression. Love is being willing to say what you need to say, speaking the truth, even when someone else doesn't necessarily agree with it or doesn't want to hear it. That's also love. Now, yes, there are degrees of love. Yes, there are interpretations of love. There is no absolute black and white interpretation of love. This is for you to explore. What's your interpretation of love? However, when you explore love as being the opposite of fear, when you explore love as being expansive rather than contractive, when you explore love as being based on infinite possibility and unlimited compassion and understanding for another human being and giving people the benefit of the doubt, including yourself, that's one of the power virtues that overrides most suffering in life. And when you put in the frame of love, you collapse suffering. You collapse all the problems in your reality. So I think that's one of the most powerful belief systems you can have, is that love is always the answer. What would love do now? So powerful frame. Number 5, and this is a powerful one as well. These are all powerful. Life has my back. Number 5 is the convenient assumption is that life has my back. Now, if we have the convenient assumption that life has my back, there's an inherent deep layer of trust and confidence in everything that's unfolding inside our life, inside this reality, it is divine. It is perfectly imperfect. It is coming from a higher place. It is coming from a place of support, of some energy championing us. It's like we have someone in our corner. And so this belief system that life has my back, what it's doing is it's saying that life really has been conspiring. It has been conspiring in our favor, even when it's sometimes hard to understand. Life has been the one that's kind of always guiding and always providing opportunities and insights and resources and all the experiences that we could ever have hoped to have experienced in order for our life to be the greatest love story ever told. And so for me, I just have absolute unshakable level of trust in that life has my back. And it doesn't mean that life is perfect in every single dimension. Life is perfectly imperfect. And life is unfolding in an imperfectly perfect way to suit my expansion, to suit my expression, and to give me the resources and the experiences for me to live my purpose, what I've come here to experience. And so this is where it can be challenging for a lot of people, because a lot of people think, well, hang on, how can life have my back? I've been dished up all these blows. I've experienced all sorts of trauma or suffering or loss. And this is the thing, is when we view life through the lens of victimhood, well, we will see all of the adversity in our life as something that was happening against us, not for us. So again, life is giving you, by the perspective that you're viewing your life, your reality is being created through the perspective you're viewing life. So if you view your life through the lens of victimhood, that all these things have happened, all this adversity that's happened has been happening, that's been penalizing or punishing me. Well, if you view it that way, then it becomes that way. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we need to be aware of our perspective is creating our reality. Whereas when you take on this convenient assumption, thanks, Joe, love you too. When we take on this particular perspective, which is that life has my back, life has been conspiring in my favor, even when I haven't noticed how. When we have this infinite sense of trust in that this universe has got our back and it's unfolding exactly the way that it's supposed to for our greatness, then when we view reality through that lens, then that's what reality becomes for us. By us perceiving our reality through that lens, it becomes the greatest love story ever told. Life becomes this amazing, incredible adventure that's been conspiring for our greatness. So be aware that the lens through which you choose to view a reality, the philosophy that you live your life, it is dictating and it's determining your perception. It's dictating the meaning that you give the events of your life. And so it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you subscribe to, whatever the frame of observation you subscribe to, whether you think life's amazing or whether you think life's crap, if you choose to view a reality through that experience, well, you will create that. And this is just the way that life works. It's just the way that it works. So number 5 is life has my back. And when we subscribe to that at the deepest possible level, and when we trust in that intuitively from moment to moment, it overrides the suffering. It overrides any uncertainty, because we know at a deep unconscious level that whatever's going to happen, life is going to shuffle itself, it's going to reevaluate itself, and everything that's going to take place is going to be as it's meant to be. So that's kind of a sub-belief that goes along with this, is everything that's unfolding, well, that happened. If it did happen, it happened because, well, it just happened. And that was the way that it was meant to be. Not from the sense that it was necessarily predetermined or predefined or set in stone, but that's what happened. So, okay, that's how it was meant to be. It's acceptance of what is. And it's going a level further of acceptance of what is. It's not just acceptance, but it's gratitude for what is. It's gratitude for the way that things have taken place. That's the next level of, that's if you want to take acceptance and upgrade it, you take acceptance of just being neutral for the fact that something's happened, and you get grateful for the way that it's happened. You celebrate it with gratitude, with appreciation. You look through the lens of gratitude and appreciation, and life will give you something to be appreciative of. If you look through the lens of scarcity or suffering, or looking for the go wrong, or looking for where things are shit, you're going to find where things are shit. Whereas when you look through the lens of gratitude and appreciation, you see gratitude and appreciation. It's like when you put on a pair of sunglasses. The color of the lens that you put on is going to determine the spectrum of light that you allow into your eyes. Well, the same thing goes with these filters, with these belief systems. So you can only start understanding and unpacking the deeper meaning that you're creating in your life when you understand the frame through which you're viewing your reality through. I trust that makes sense, guys. It is a deep topic, and it's one that I love. I could speak on this for days, but I'm going to leave you with those top 5 tonight, and I'll let you guys apply these. And I hope you guys, when you watch these videos, you guys are taking notes and applying and identifying how you can actually apply this, because it's only through the application of this that you integrate and embody these principles. Because if you just write these down and you put them in a book and then just close the book and just put it away and go, okay, that was nice, well, it's just intellectual entertainment. It's just simply shelf development. So the important thing here is going away for this week, asking yourself, how are you going to apply this? How are you going to take this and infuse it into your life? How can you see your reality through these lenses? How can you take this into a daily practice or a discipline? How can you infuse this into your way of being? How can you communicate this? How can you share this? What can you put up on social media? What can you do conversationally? How can you share this and infuse it into your life so that it becomes a more unconscious way of being? That's the question I'm always asking, is how do I infuse this? How do I integrate this? How do I systematize, or how do I automate this? How do I set up processes and structures to immerse myself in repetition so that this soaks in? Repetition is the way to integrate a lot of this. So I'll leave that with you beautiful people for this week. And please let me know how it goes. I'd always love to find out feedback from you all as to how all of this integration goes. For those of you that are interested in taking this a level deeper, for those of you, some of you probably heard this, and I know there's some people watching that are already in the program, Project Limitless is the amazing, phenomenal 12-week living inner circle workshop that I'm running starting next week. So if you love what you're hearing, if you want to take everything you're hearing on Transformation Tuesday and apply it at a deeper level, if you want to integrate this and get access to some of the most advanced content that I teach now, Project Limitless is your opportunity to do that. So if this resonates, if you like more advanced personal development and you'd like to go on a journey with a community and getting access to me, unpacking these at a much more complex but also simple degree as well, then you guys would love that if you're enjoying what you're getting here on Transformation Tuesday. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you there too, Mike. For those that are wanting to know more, please drop me a message, but it's going to be mastery of your emotions. It's going to be mastery of leadership, of productivity, of understanding a deeper sense of clarity of vision and purpose. It's getting some really advanced levels, principles of consciousness and tools, strategies of how to apply all of this into your life to take your level of mastery of self, of business, of relationships to a whole new level. And I'm excited because I get to, this is my Disneyland, this is my playground. I get to give the best of what I know, and I get to help you infuse it over 12 powerful weeks with weekly live masterclasses with Q&A, as well as interaction in a Facebook group. Every single question that you've got gets answered, and I'm giving you the best of what I've got. So for those that resonate, send me a message, and I'd love to have a chat to you to see if you might be a fit for going through Project Limitless. Wishing you guys a beautiful week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you a beautiful week. And as always, lots of love. I'll see you next Transformation Tuesday. Bye for now.